Today marks an incredible milestone. We've made it 5 years into RS3 Released. In just under 11 months of real time, we've completed 99 quests and explored the content RuneScape has to offer up to this point. To everyone who's been here and seen it all, I thank you. I thank the people who have been a part of these videos with me in voice, and to the people who are watching this years from now, thank you all. And now, quest number 100, Recipe for Disaster. We return to Lumbridge and speak with our old friend the cook. Do you have any other quests for me? That last one of yours was so much fun, I was hoping you would.
Oh dear, I might have, but it's all very embarrassing.
Embarrassing? How do you mean?
Well, you know I told you that it was the Duke's birthday.
Yep, that's why I had to go and collect you things to make a cake with, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, it isn't. I don't even know when his birthday is.
Why would you have me running around finding ingredients for you then?
I needed to test you and see if I could trust you. I'm in a terrible pickle, and I desperately need somebody trustworthy to help me out.
You need help again? Well, what seems to be the problem?
Well, you're obviously trustworthy. I guess I could tell you.
Please do. The suffering of others always seems to turn out very profitable for me.
Well, it's like this. Did you ever hear of Franizard van Lumcook?
I can't say I have, and with a name like that, I'm sure I would remember.
Well, he was a great chef, and also my ancestor. 100 years ago, there was a very important meeting held here in Lumbridge Castle, and he cooked a banquet for the meeting, which was so stupendously amazing that he was offered a job for life, along with all of his descendants.
So you have your job because 100 years ago your ancestor was a very good cook. I don't see how that's a problem for you. In fact, I'd say you were a very lucky man indeed. Frankly, I'd have fired you by now if you worked for me.
Oh no, you don't understand. This big important secret meeting that Franizard cooked for is held here in Lumbridge Castle every 10 years, and tonight will be the 10th anniversary of it.
Still not seeing the problem.
Well, I've always felt like a failure as a cook, and that my job here is down to the skills of my ancestor. I want to prove to the world that I am a great cook too, but to do that, no, it just won't work.
What won't? Come on, man, pull yourself together and speak to me.
Well, I thought that I would recreate the meal Franizard cooked all those years ago, the one that impressed everybody so much. There's just this one small problem though.
Let me take a wild guess. You have the recipe, but you don't have any of the ingredients, and obviously, you can't just go and get them yourself?
Yes, however did you know?
Call it a hunch. Okay, tell me what you're after, and then I'll decide if I want to help you or not.
Well, they are common enough ingredients, although I must admit the recipe I'm following is very strange indeed. I will pay you up front for any expenses you may incur while obtaining them, and of course you may keep the change for being so helpful to me. Please, can you help me? The feast is scheduled to start very soon, and I simply cannot leave.
I would love to help you. What do I have to do?
Well, I have an incredibly important banquet that I have to prepare for, and I'm using an ancient cookbook to recreate the meal my famous ancestor made 100 years ago. Most of the ingredients I was able to obtain fairly easily, but there was some oddities that I have been unable to lay my hands on.
Like what?
I need the following ingredients as soon as possible. 1 eye of newt, a freshly made dirty blast, a rotten tomato, and a glass of Greenman's ale. I have given you 100 coins to cover any expenses you may incur. Feel free to keep the change.
Where do I find a dirty blast? I've never heard of it before.
Yes, I must admit, I had never heard of it either until reading through my ancestor's cookbook. Tell me, do you know how to make a fruit blast?
A fruit blast? Sure. They sell those at Blurberry's bar, right?
Ah, so you've heard of it then. But for this recipe, I'd need a fresh one. You can't just buy me one from a shop or from your friends. Well, a dirty blast is a freshly made fruit blast, but then for some reason, you add ash at the end.
Freshly made? Why did you specify that?
Apparently the ash reacts with the freshly squeezed juice in the glass. It means you can't just buy one Blurberry made earlier, you'll have to make it yourself.
Well, it shouldn't take that long.
That's the spirit.
Luckily, quest guides exist these days, so we already have all those ingredients with us, but we make the dirty blast.
Great, you're back. Did you bring the ingredients I asked for? Remember, I need an eye of newt, a glass of Greenman's ale, a rotten tomato, and a dirty blast.
You'll be happy to know I have all of that with me.
You absolutely must go through into the dining room just there and see the feast I have prepared. I simply won't take no for an answer.
We head into the banquet and see some old faces from previous quests and a couple new ones. The Duke of Lumbridge introduces all the guests.
I welcome Osmond, Spy Master for the Emir of Al-Kari. I welcome the Chief Guard of the White Wolf Mountain Dwarves. I welcome Pirate Pete from Brain Death Island. I welcome the chief of the Goblin Village. I welcome Scratch, a Glogly of the Fell Dip Hills Ogres. I welcome my neighbor Phileas, the Lumbridge Sage. From the town of Edgeville, I welcome Evil Dave. A hearty welcome to Sir Amic Vars, leader of the White Knights. And finally, I welcome the ruler of Ape Atoll, our Wogai.
After Wogai takes a seat, the Duke gets a pinball event. All of a sudden, someone teleports into the room.
I'm back!
Did we invite you?
Ha! You shifted! And now I'll kill you!
He attacks the dinner goers with some sort of spell.
Sorry I'm late.
I remember you!
Ah! Tempus sit. RS3 Released, you must help me defeat this evil!
Hi,
Hello there, adventurer. How can I assist you?
who are you?
I am the fortune teller. My friends call me Eris.
Okay then, Eris.
You can call me the fortune teller.
Fine then, so you're a fortune teller then.
That is correct. I live in a tent in Varrock.
So you can tell the future.
That is correct, yes.
Isn't that a bit overpowered?
No, not really. Was there something else you wanted to interrogate me about?
I do have a question. A very good question.
Oh, yes. What's that then?
Just what in the flipping hippo is going on?
Flipping hippo?
Yes. You've never heard that phrase.
No, I'm quite sure that I never have.
Well, that's not the point. Please, just tell me what happened.
Certainly. That fellow over there in the chef's hat is called the Culinaromancer. 100 years ago, he threatened the secret council with death, but was foiled by the quick thinking of his assistant, who managed to trap him in another dimension. As a result of that action, the assistant was offered a job for life as head cook of Lumbridge, for himself and all his future descendants. Now, apparently, the current head cook of Lumbridge decided to recreate his ancestors' greatest achievement, not realizing that his achievement was not a meal but a powerful food magic. And by recreating the spell, he has inadvertently freed the evil Culinaromancer from his prison, to wreak havoc upon this world once more. Naturally, when I saw what was happening, I intervened with a simple Tempus Cecit spell, so that we would have time to immunize the Secret Council from his attack, and so that we can defeat the Culinaromancer once and for all.
What?
You want me to explain it again?
Yes, please, but slower and more understandable.
Okay then. 100 years ago, the evil food magician was defeated and banished. Because of you and the Lumbridge cook, he is now free. He was about to slaughter all of these people, but I stopped time so that you could protect them.
You stopped time? And wait, I have to protect them? Why me?
Yes, I stopped time, and you have to do it partly because you helped release him by getting those ingredients, and partly because I'm stuck here keeping the spell intact.
Isn't stopping time kind of, dangerous?
Oh, unbelievably so. This is why I've limited the time bubble to this room and this room alone.
Huh? How does that work?
Everything outside this room continues to flow through time. This is why outside of this room, you've already defeated the Culinaromancer and protected the members of the Secret Council. Inside this room, however, you have not.
What?
Where time has been frozen in this room, outside it continues to flow. So this room is now currently in what we would call the past. Many events inside here have already happened, and the longer time continues to flow outside, the more removed from normal time this room becomes.
Wait, so I've already saved all these council members and defeated the Culinaromancer?
Yes, but only outside. What you need to do now is save them in here as well, so that time can resume in its normal ebb and flow. Otherwise, there will be increasing temporal pressure, and the entire universe might explode.
Not the whole universe, that's where I keep my stuff.
Yes, that is why it is so important that you protect them all.
But you said I already had.
Yes, you have in the future, which is also the present, but not in the present, which is also the past.
My brain hurts.
Yes, time travel tends to do that to people. I suggest you don't worry about it too much. Just make sure you protect each council member and then defeat the Culinaromancer.
How would I do that?
Each council member will have their own unique dish that will serve to counteract the Culinaromancer's spell. Inspect the one you wish to save, and I will offer any advice I have. Was there anything else you wanted to ask me about?
Is it me or did this room just get much bigger?
Ah, that would be the time dilation effect.
The time dilation effect?
Yes, as time has stopped flowing in the normal way, your eyes are playing tricks on you. As the pictures absorbed by your eyes take slightly longer to reach your brain than normal.
What?
As everybody knows, time flows from north to south, so my freezing time means that this room has apparently stretched slightly along its horizontal axis.
Does that even make sense?
Don't let it worry you too much. It's just an optical illusion. The room is exactly the same size as it always has been. It just appears to be a tiny bit bigger.
We're going to start with the mountain dwarf. How do I protect you, I wonder?
To protect our short, angry friend from the Culinaromancer's magics, I suggest that you seek out his father within the mountain tunnel that he guards. His fondness for rock cakes could prove key in freeing him.
We head to Falador and speak with Kaylee in the Rising Sun Inn. We buy a bunch of Asgardian ale and then ask for her advice about dwarves and ale. She says they particularly enjoy her special secret recipe. We use the Ring of Karos to charm it out of her. She calls it a golden ale. If you drop a coin into an Asgardian ale, it turns gold. We head into the tunnel underneath the White Wolf Mountain and drop 5 coins of gold into the ales. We speak with Rohak, the father of the dwarf that was at the banquet. We explain the situation to him poorly, and he of course doesn't believe us, and doesn't want to give us his secret recipe of rock cakes. We give him 4 Asgardian ales, and he promises to make us the rock cake. He sobers up and regrets it, but agrees. We pay him 100 gold, and he makes the rock cake and slams it onto the table. We put on the Ice Queen's gloves and pick up the cake. We serve it to the mountain dwarf.
Good work, adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 7 council members left to protect.
Next up, Goblin Generals. Which one of these am I actually meant to be saving?
Neither of them were at the previous council meeting. The goblins get through leaders so fast I find it hard to keep track. I heard the last leader died during a game of pin the tail on the basilisk. Well, no worries. I'm sure if you just find something that they'll both eat, then that should work. I hope.
Remembering the last time I dealt with these two, that may be easier said than done.
Well, you could try asking some of the other goblins in their village for ideas. You should be able to find it just north of Falador, unless they've decided the sky is the wrong color there or something.
We head to the Goblin Village and speak with the generals and ask what their favorite food is, but they won't tell us. We head down into this nice kitchen and speak to the cook. We tell him the situation and he tells us he needs to finish his experiment on his new cooking method first. He says he's missing an item, charcoal. We give him a lump and he starts his experiment. The cauldron explodes and goes flying. The cook is ecstatic and happily helps us. We tell him we need something that they'll both eat. Of course, that's a problem. Bentnose wants fruit in the dish, but Wartface will only eat oranges. Bentnose doesn't like the color orange though. Wartface wants maggots, but Bentnose will only eat them if they're spicy. Bentnose wants bread, but Wartface wants it to be soggy. We slice up an orange and dye it with purple dye. Dunk bread into water to make it soggy, and spice up some fishing bait. The cook mixes them all together into the slop of compromise. We return to the banquet and give it to the generals.
Good work, adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 6 council members left to protect.
43 farming? Why did we get farming XP from that? Evil Dave? Evil Dave? What's he doing on the Secret Council?
The council is meant to include 1 dark wizard, but obviously the other members did not want to include anyone who's a real threat.
So how do I free him?
To free Evil Dave, you must make a stew, but it must be seasoned in a very particular way. The only way to find the recipe would be to ask someone who has tasted the stew.
But who could that be?
Remember that from the point of view of the outside world. Anything you do in here has already happened. All the people here are out in the world because from their point of view, you have already rescued.
You mean I need to talk to Evil Dave outside the time bubble?
Yes, he lives in Edgefield, with his mother, in her basement. I make no judgment about it.
Okay. We take a bunch of stew and head into his mom's basement. We find Dave and ask what he ate at the banquet. He says it was totally evil stew. Stew that tasted kind of evil. Because he liked it. Because he's evil. He says it was like the stew his mom makes, expertly spiced using her spices. We speak with Doris upstairs and ask to use her spices. She tells us that Dave's Hellrat stole all the spices. We go back down and put Leia to work. We get some spices and try and figure out the quantity of spice. 1 brown is correct. 1 yellow, more than 1 red, 1 orange. Whoa, Leia turned into a Hellcat. 2 red. That means it's 1 brown, 1 yellow, 1 orange, 2 red. We have him taste it, he confirms that's the right stew. We head back to the banquet and feed it to him there. We tell him he needs to remember what it tastes like.
Good work, adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 5 council members left to protect.
Next is our blackjack happy friend Pirate Pete. How would I go about protecting this nautical fellow from the curse of the Culinaromancer then?
Wait a moment. My fortune sense is tingling.
Okay.
Yes. To immunize him from the Culinaromancer's attack, you'll need to feed him fish cakes.
Fish cakes? What, like chocolate cake with fish instead of chocolate?
No. Like small breadcrumbed fishy delicacies.
So how would I make those then?
I don't know. I'm a fortune teller, not a cook. I don't suppose it occurred to you to ask the actual cook in the room right next door to us.
Oh yeah! I'll be right back. We talk with the cook and he tells us where to get all the ingredients, and he says once we get all of them to bring them to him and he'll tell us how to put them together. We go find Murphy in Port Khazard. He says he used to catch crabs when he fished for them near Remington. He recommends we go down in the water there and look for him. We ask what he's talking about and he asks us for a fishbowl. He says he can use it to make us some breathing gear. We give him one and he makes us a diving apparatus. We put on the gear and he takes us out to Remington. We dive in. We grab some kelp and head over to find a bunch of giant crabs along with a tribe of mogres. We try to go into the enclosure, but a guard stops us and says Nung won't let us in. We speak with Nung and tell him we want one of the crabs. He says he'll trade for 5 big Skippy skins. We swim over there and grab a bunch of rocks to weigh ourselves down. We engage these fish in hand-to-hand combat until we get 5 skins. We deliver them to Nung. He says we've got to give him something to turn them into a cloak and flippers. A needle and bronze wire. We give them to him and he lets us into the crab shack. We engage in hand-to-hand combat with the crabs. We return to the cook with all the ingredients. We put them all together and cook the cake. Then feed it to Pete.
Good work, adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 4 council members left to protect.
Next, the Lumbridge Sage. How can I help the Lumbridge Sage?
Well, what better way to help the Lumbridge Sage than a cake of guidance? Would you like to help?
Yes, I'm sure I can make a cake. Sounds a bit weird though. What does it involve?
Well, I'm not too familiar with the fine details. You'll have to go and speak with Brayborn in the Wizard's Tower. He'll know what you need.
Okay, thanks. I'll get right on it. We go to Wizard Triborn in the Wizard's Tower. He says the Cake of Guidance is imbued with knowledge itself. He says we need to enchant the basic ingredients with our own knowledge. We start with a quiz to enchant the egg. We simply need to identify various people who we met before. First is Unferth, Bob the Cat's owner. Second is Pirate Pete. Last is Professor Groningen from the observatory. The egg is enchanted. Next is the milk. We need to answer 3 questions about the world. What ingredients are used in the cake? Milk, flour, and eggs. A glass vial is 33 as a glass orb is to 46, the XP given for making each, and the bar west of Paul Nimnich is in the bandit camp. The milk is enchanted. Finally, the flour. We need to study a set of items and then answer questions about them. He shows us these. Which item begins with the letter M? Mind Talisman. Next set of items. How many types of runes? 2. Fire and Chaos. Final set. Which item was not shown? Trout. He gives us all 3 enchanted items, and we bake them in the Lumbridge range. We feed the Cake of Guidance to the Lumbridge Sage.
Good work, adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 3 council members left to protect.
Now for Scratch Uglogwi, whoever this is. How can I help Scratch?
Scratch! He'd be unfrozen in a jiffy if he just had some jubbly.
And once again, but in English this time?
Scratch, being an ogre, likes chompies. And the real delicacy is jubbly chompy bird. Do you think you could get some?
Yes, I'm sure I can get some Jubbly Chompy.
That's the spirit.
Okay, then what's involved? How do I get this Jubbly Chompy?
Well, that's where it breaks down a bit, you see. The only thing alive which might help you get the jubbly chompy is the most confusing beast that RuneScape has ever known. The situation is lost, I'm afraid, and I understand totally if you decide not to help Scratch.
Well, come on, it can't be that difficult.
I'm afraid it is. You see, you need to go and speak to an ogre called Rance over the Fell Deep Hills.
Ah, right. I see.
How do you feel about getting Jubbly Chumpy now and freeing Scratch?
Okay then, I guess I'll go talk to Rance.
Well, I do pity you, and wish you the best of luck.
We go talk to Rance and tell him the situation. He says he'll show us how to catch a Jubbly for a favor. We have to get him to Karamja. He pushes down a tree and we carve it into a boat. Next, he says we need to go to where he shoots his arrow and cook a Chompy there, so his kids, Bugs and Feisty, can smell it and then swim there. We find the arrow hit a small tree on the shore. We roast a Chompy. Good thing I brought two. Successfully this time, Bugs and Feisty are attracted to the smell and arrive with the boat. They take us back to Rance and he tells us that we need to blow up a toad like normal, then tie it to a rock with a string to attack Jubbly. What does this remind me of? Shrek came out 3 months after RuneScape Classic. How old do you feel? This thing is huge. We cook and catch 2, burning one of them. We give the second cooked one to Scratch.
Good work, Adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 2 council members left to protect.
Now for Sir Amic Vars.
To protect this noble knight from the magic of the Culinaromancer, you will have to give him a creme brulee. Not just any creme brulee, mind you. A creme brulee supreme.
Well, that doesn't sound too hard. What's so supreme about a creme brulee supreme?
Are you going to constantly ask me questions? I am a fortune teller, not a cook. And again, I would suggest you speak to the cook next door who will be much more helpful on such culinary matters. Although I happen to know that one of the ingredients is the egg of the evil chicken.
The evil chicken? Great. He only seems to show up when I don't want him to.
I believe the wise old man in Draenor has studied the evil chicken. I would suggest you speak to him to get you on the right track. And tell him Bubbykins says I.
Bubbykins?
That is not important right now. Go, protect Sir Amic from the magic that threatens his life. My spell will only hold so long.
Just give me 5 minutes, I'll be right back. We talk to the chef again. He tells us how we made the brulee supreme. We need corn flour, which is made by using corn instead of wheat in a flour mill, and vanilla, which is only found in the Karazi jungle, along with the egg of the evil chicken, of course. Cooking it requires it to be flambéed by dragon's breath, which we were able to do by commanding a dragon to do our bidding, because we killed some of the black dragons in the evil chicken's lair. We had to mill and dump some corn into the hopper, making corn flour. We mix milk with cream, then the creamy milk with the corn flour. Next we go to the Karazi jungle, we find a vanilla plant and add a stalk to our pot to make the brulee. Now to pay the wise old man a visit. We ask him about the evil chicken. For those who don't know, the evil chicken was one of many random events that were removed from the game. It would pop up and attack you at random as a deterrent from botting. He tells us there's a rumor of witches that worship it and summon it in Xanaris. We find the shrine and offer it a raw chicken, arriving in the evil chicken's lair, which is full of black dragons. We run past them and find the chicken back near the end of the cave. We kill it and loot its egg. Then we attack a black dragon, we kill it as well, and loot the charm it drops. We head back to Lumbridge, then crush down a Draymond branch that we've held onto for the last 4 years for this exact moment, and add it and the egg to the brulee. We rub the charm and a fairy dragon appears. It says it gave the token to a hero, and we're not them. It says we have the right to request any one thing of it before giving it back the token. We ask it to flambe this cream brulee. I almost made a horrible mistake and got burned alive. Let's try that again with the ice gloves this time. It flambes the brulee, and we give it to Sir Amic.
Good work, Adventurer. I've teleported them away to safety. You only have 1 council member left to protect. Hurry up.
The final one, King Awowogai.
You'll need to feed King Awowogai his favorite dish.
What's that then?
I have to admit I'm not sure. Maybe you could ask him.
That's the version of him on Apatol?
Yes, of course.
We head to Apatol and speak to him. We ask to know if he has a favorite dish. He mentions that the 3 monkeys know it. We find and speak with the 3 wise monkeys. One can't see, one can't hear, and one can't talk. We ask about the king's favorite dish. We tell them that we're organizing a secret party for him. Mizaru tells us that he likes giant snake stuffed with sliced banana and monkey nut paste. Irazaru says that the banana we have is wrong though, we need a red one. He also says the monkey nuts we have are wrong, they need to be tchiki monkey nuts. We turn into a gorilla and pull down the red banana tree and pick 5. Next, we head back to Crash Island and find the Cave of Snakes, killing 5 and taking their carcasses. Finally, we head through the agility course and enter a hole at the top, finding the Tachiki nut bush. We stuff a banana and nut into each of the snakes. Now we just need to cook them. For this, we need to be a zombie monkey. We find a secret area underneath the temple and cook the snake on the stone slab, perfectly preparing all 5. We return to Lumbridge and serve one of them to Awobo guy. He teaches us how to teleport to Apatal.
Now you've freed them all. I'll restart time so you can deal with the Culinaromancer.
If you're sure.
Napos proceeded!
What was that?
We have broken your feeble spell. Be gone!
You dared to meddle? But you cannot defeat me. I'll be back.
Hooray, he's gone!
One day he'll return. You must go through the portal and finish him off.
With all the dinner goers freed, the room returns to its normal size and we're left with a portal to enter once we're ready to take him on.
RS3 Released. I must warn you. Inside that dimension you will have no assistance from the gods and your prayers will not work at all. Also, be aware that he will use his powers to draw upon the might of foes you have fought before. Take care. I suspect the Culinaromancer will not give up so easily.
We head into the portal and arrive on his plane.
You dare come here? Say hello to my little friend.
He summons Agrith Nana, a banana version of the old version of Agrith Nar from the Demon Slayer quest.
Dude, I will not be thwarted by you.
Next, he summons Flambade, a giant flaming cake monster with the same effects as Farid from the Desert Treasure quest. We need to be wearing the ice gloves to fight him, which I forgot. 1 second. There we go.
I've waited a long time for my revenge.
Now it's Caramel, which is based off of Camille, also from Desert Treasure.
Let's see how you deal with this.
Next is Dessorts, which is a candy cane version of Decius from Desert Treasure as well.
You've been lucky so far, but no more.
Now he summons the Gelatinoth Mother, which is a jello copy of the Dagonoth Mother from Horror from the Deep. I didn't bring any other type of weapon, so I'm just going to sit here until she turns orange. Oh man. Okay, there we go.
Dude, you've caused me enough grief. I guess I'll have to finish you off myself.
Good work, RS3 Released. I think that will be the last we'll see of him. You'd better come back now.
Quest complete. We get a 20k XP lamp that we're going to save for later. Time to get our reward of the Barrow's gloves. Now, these gloves are only slightly better than the ones I have for all 3 combat styles. It's kind of sad since they used to be so good pre-EOC. Quest number 101, in aid of the Myreque. We return to Veliaf in the Myreque hideout underneath the Canifis pub. We tell him we'd like to help with their situation. First, he tells us a history of Mauritania. 7 warrior priests are responsible for driving back the darkness across the river into Mauritania. He says the church preaches that they are buried in Paterdomus, but he believes that one particularly zealous priest named Vandus was buried in Mauritania somewhere. Veliaf believes that the Vandus may have been buried along with something that could aid their struggle, potentially something that could harm the Vyres. He tells us to keep our eyes open to clues that could lead us to Vandus' resting place. As for the task, he says they need to evacuate this hideout before more Vyres come for them. He asks for us to go to Berg de Rot, a town south of Morton, and see if we can find a new place for them to operate from. We travel down to Bergdorf and arrive at a gate. We try to enter, but are shunned away by a townsperson who appears emaciated and terrified. We see a nearby chest that appears to have had food provisions in it at one point. We run north a bit and hunt and kill a small snail, light a fire, cook it, and then put the meat into the chest. The townspeople see it and allow us in, thankful for the food. We speak to Florin and ask him what's going on. He explains that they're practically trapped here hiding from the Vyres and there's nothing but rats to eat. We ask if there are any out-of-the-way places in here, and he says that we can use the cellar in the inn. It's full of rubble right now, but we can try to clean it out. We go to the inn and mine the rubble over the trapdoor, and then go inside. We mine and clear all the rubble and make this place livable. While we're mining away, we find a plaster with pictograms depicting 7 figures near the River Salve, pointing to Paterdomus. However, one of the figures is standing away from the others, holding something in his hands. 2 rays of light, one green, one silver, shine from the sky surrounding the figure. All the figures are holding weapons, with the solo figure holding something called Silvthoril. A chemical compound representing silver, garlic, harlander, and red spider's eggs is also being administered to a dark creature held by some powerful force. Next, we find a scroll, a letter to someone named Lantania, someone running from Hallowvale, which is presumably what Mauritania used to be, over the river to Miscelin, also praying to Saradomin that Queen Epharite can push the beast back to where they came from. The writer says for Lantania to grab their things as they'll be coming to take them to Miscelin soon. Signed, Ceolathan. Next, we get a clue scroll. As we clear the last of the rubble, we notice a wall plaque. It reads, "Blessings on Epharite, our Icene queen from far-off lands, and her loving children of hallowed name." We head back up to the village and speak with Teodor. We tell him we'd like to help fix up the town. He recommends we fix up the general store. We speak to Arl, the owner. He asks us to have a look at the roof and the walls. We go to Rasmeyer's store in Morton and buy some planks and then use them to fix the general store roof and then the wall. Next, he asks us to stock the store with 3 tinderboxes, 10 mackerel, and 10 bronze hatchets. We fill it with 10 hatchets that we happen to bring with us, then go and buy 3 tinderboxes from Rasmeyer before fishing up the mackerel from the shore nearby. We deliver the crate to Arl, and he recommends we fix the bake next. We ask him how everyone got here. He says they're escapees from the Sanguinesti region. We ask what that is. He says it's a place to the east of here controlled by the vampires. We head to the bank and speak with Cornelius. He asks us to fix the Vlupen Bank. We fix the Vlupen Bank and speak with him again. He says we need to recruit a banker. We suggest he do it, and he accepts. We can now access the bank here. We speak with Gabriella and ask her what we should do next. She recommends we repair the furnace. We patch it and light it. But when we do, we see Vanstorm Klaus giving a human named Gataranx a hard time, something about collecting tithes. He's clearly being forced to do this and does not want to. Vanstorm points out the settlement clearly visible from the lit furnace. Soren tells us that Gataranx is here to collect a tithe. We find him in the general store with 2 Juvenates and a barrel of blood. We talk to everyone here and Gataranx gets upset. We fight off the Juvenates and Velief arrives to assist us. We take down Gataranx together. As he lay there dying, he tells us he was just doing this to protect his family. He begs us to save them. He says the Vyres have outlawed the ingredients that make the chemical compound we found in the plaster, and says we should try and make a potion out of it. We take his warhammer as he breathes his last breath. We speak to Velief, who says he needs to head back, and asks us to follow as quick as we're able to leave here. We head back to the hideout and tell Radagat and Polmafi where the new base is, then tell Ivan we're heading back to Paterdomus. We go through Canifis, but we're ambushed by 2 Juvenates. We cut them down with our sickle and proceed to safety. We talk with Dressel and ask him about Evandus. He's offended about Velief's claims that he could possibly be buried anywhere but here, and won't talk about it. We ask where we can find more information about him, and eventually goad him into giving us the key that opens the secret library at Paterdomus. We use it and find the Sleeping Seven. We read it. It recounts small details from the 4th Age in Mauritania. This land used to be called Hallowvale, ruled by the Queen of the Icene. She was forced to kneel to his dark self, which can be assumed to be Lord Draken. A harsh war was fought to try and push Draken back from Avaraka, and 7 priests took up arms to lead the force. Arandel Castellan, Sarl Dungegun, Friar Twiblick, Darrigal Templeton, Aracel the Pious, Issa Dargar, and Evandus Sirges. Evandus is said to have wielded a staff, or rod, as well as a Gothic serum which he used to destroy, or even revert, a creature back to its human form. The 7 priests pushed the armies of Draken back over the river and stood vigilant, preventing any from passing while the river was blessed. The author of this book writes that they were able to learn that Avandis is not buried in Paterdomus. They detail that he's buried in a cavern beneath Mort Mire, sealed behind boards. We know where that is. We find a boarded up tunnel in the cavern underneath Canifis. We smash the boards and enter, finding Avandis' coffin. Affixed to the coffin is a rod made of silver and mithril alloy, Silvthrill. It appears to be magical in divine and mortal ways. We use clay to make a mold of the rod and head to a furnace. Using a bar of mithril and a bar of silver, and a sapphire, we recreate the rod, then enchant the sapphire in it. It's almost an exact duplicate, just missing its divinity. We take it to Paterdomus and dunk it into the river, adding the missing aspect and recreating the Rod of Avandis. We head to the new hideout and give it to Valief. Quest complete. Quest number 102, A Soul's Bane. This quest was actually made free to play back in 2017. East of Varrock, near the dig site, there's an old woman standing near a large crevasse. We ask her what's going on. She says it opened by itself a few months ago. Some dig site students have gone down to explore it but have never returned. We ask why it's important to her. She says she's waiting to see her son Tolna. He disappeared around here 25 years ago. She says her husband also went down here a few days ago. We offer to go in and look for them. We head in and hear Tolna talking. We see a fiery area of anger. We take one of the weapons off the nearby wall and attack one of the creatures with it. We are overwhelmed with anger and see a vision of Tolna running away from home as a child. When we come to, all the creatures are gone. We head into a tunnel and arrive in a terrifying room of imprisonment. We hear Tolna scream for help out of fear. We peek into the holes around the walls until eventually a creature of fear jumps out at us. We repeat this 5 times until eventually the path forward doesn't look so scary. We see another flashback, this one of Tolna being no-clipped through a flashing texture. Jagex, come on. We proceed onward and find a room of confusion. Tolna rises out again. In this room, there are doors that lead nowhere, along with disgusting-looking beasts. Only one of them can be harmed, and when it's killed, one of the doors disappears. We keep killing them until only a single door is remaining, and see another cutscene of Tolna, stuck in here, lost and confused. We find another room similar to the Room of Fear, but this one is full of hopelessness. There are 5 hopeless creatures that shrink each time they're killed, and we kill each one 3 times. And a bridge of hope appears. We cross it and find what's become of Tolna. Brana, Tolna's father, pleads out to him. The grotesque creature tells him he's not his son anymore. Brana says he'll always be his son. Tolna rejects him and attacks us. We kill each of the heads, and Tolna appears, lying on the ground, grown up. He says he was looking for a lost civilization, which we know today would be Zaros' empire. We return to the surface and speak with Tolna, who is still only wearing one shoe. He explains that he was able to find the remnants of the empire down there, but it was like some evil power wanted him to suffer and made him suffer for 25 years, as if it was feeding off it. The crevasse will remain open as a learning ground. Quest complete. Quest number 103, Rag and Bone Man. East of Tolna's Rift is an old man with a large sack on his back. He's in some sort of camp constructed with wood and bones. We ask him what's up and can clearly hear the sack mumbling to him. He says he's an archaeologist working with the museum. He says he's collecting bones and he's missing a few and asks for our help in getting them. We accept and he tells us that the bones need to be fresh to replace ones that have gotten damaged. He needs a goblin, bear, big frog, ram, unicorn, monkey, giant rat, and giant bat bone. He also says we need to boil them in vinegar to clean them first. We get a goblin bone, frog bone, bear bone, ram bone, unicorn bone, rat bone, monkey bone, bat bone. We put all the bones in the pots of vinegar and boil them until the vinegar evaporates and the bones are shiny. We give them to the old man and he thanks us. He says he's always looking for others as well and has a wish list pasted right next to him. Quest complete. Quest number 104, Swan Song. We head up past the Gnome Stronghold on the far western border of RuneScape and find a man named Herman Karanos. He tells us that sea trolls are attacking his fishing colony. We offer to help and he asks for us to find an experienced adventurer. We tell him we are exactly that, and he says when the colony is safe, we'll be handsomely rewarded. He says we'll need the help of a truly expert adventurer, though. He says we need the wise old man from Draenor. He tells us stories, and we get to see some of the wise old man's escapades over the years. He even kicked the Calphite Queen's first form down. We go to him and explain the situation. He says saving the colony will be his final quest, his Swan Song. He asks for some runes before we leave. He takes them and asks us to meet him at the colony. We do, and we enter together. And we're ambushed by sea trolls. We kill all of them, then enter the colony. Hold on, 1 second. This song is a banger. We find Herman, and he asks us to speak with his brother Franklin to see if we can help anywhere. Franklin asks us to make 5 sheets of iron to patch up the walls the trolls destroyed. We use the metal press in the building nearby and make 5 sheets. We then use them to repair the wall. We tell Franklin, and he asks us to go help Arnold next. We find him in the bank, and he says that they need more fish with their store. He asks us to fish and cook 5 monkfish. While we're fishing, we're attacked a few times by sea trolls. We catch 5, burn some, catch some more, and then give them to Arnold. We go back to Herman and ask for our reward. He says he has something else for us to do first. The wise old man came up with a plan. Because of the number of trolls, we need to gather forces and wipe them all out at once. Our job is to gather the forces. We need to fetch an army. He sends us to the Wizards Guild to persuade a wizard in lending us an army of zombies. We head to Yanil and speak with Wizard Frumscone in the basement of the guild. We tell him what's going on, and he tells us a secret. He tells us he knows a necromancer named Malignus Mortifer. We know him. He helped us get the enchanted secateurs. We find him. He says he'll help by raising skeletal magi. He asks us for 7 bones and an airtight pot. We give him the bones, then go to the crafting guild and speak with an almost master craftsman. He tells us we just need a pot and a lid. We make the airtight pot, and Malignus puts some bone seeds into it. He teleports us back to the colony. We give the pot to the wise old man, and we start the assault. We break open the pot, and the magi are summoned. They attack the trolls and do a good job in killing the first line. The wise old man then expertly takes down a giant sea troll. While we're celebrating, he's hit by a magical bolt from the Sea Troll Queen. He's put out of commission, so we need to fight this one on our own. We're not prepared, so we teleport out and leave him to die. Oh hey, he's still alive. We once again stand victorious. We go to Herman, beg the wise old man for his billions of gold worth of hat on his head, and then get rewarded. Quest complete. 53 rare. Quest number 105, Royal Trouble. For the first time in 2 years, we return to our kingdom of Miscellanea. We speak with Advisor Grimm. He tells us that the people are worried that war will break out. King Vargas and Queen Sigrid have been fighting, and they've been threatening to raise armies again. Grimm asks us to help patch us up once again. We speak with our fiancée, Princess Astrid. Her and Prince Brand speak with us in the throne room. She thinks that we should raise an army, but Brand believes that we should have Vargas and Sigrid marry. Astrid begins to agree with him and says we need to convince the king and queen. We talk with King Vargas, and he tells us, yes, he and Sigrid have been instigating each other, but also some of the citizens' belongings have been turning up missing. We speak with Gunhild. She says that Etzetarian soldiers demanded tithes from them. They refused, but then found the next day some of their goods had been stolen. We report this to Vargas. He tells us to find out what Sigrid is thinking. We speak with Queen Sigrid, and she says that her citizens have also reported missing items. We speak to Matilda just outside, and she says soldiers from Miscellanea demanded tribute. She refused, and they stole her hat the next day. The only problem with all this is that neither country has an army. We tell Sigrid, and then return to Vargas. We tell him the situation, and then speak with Grimm again. He says it must be an outsider who is causing this trouble. The only way people get here is from the sailboat from Myreque. We speak with the Fremennik sailor and ask him if he's seen any strange people. He says the only people he sailed here are us and some kids from Myreque. 5 of them came here a few weeks ago to see relatives in the dungeons. Apparently, some people have started living down there recently. Also, apparently there's dungeons. We ask Vargas how to get to them, he tells us how, and asks us to investigate reports of odd sightings down there. We head into the dungeons and find a nice little subterranean village. We speak with a dwarf in the bar named dooooo. He says he's also want to keep digging, as he's seen a terrifying monster down there. He asks us to deal with it. He tells us how to get deeper into the cave, one of the steps being to fix the lift he broke. We head through the crevasse into the cave and work to fix the lift. Once it's fixed, we press on and find a campfire with a charred diary.
Property of Armin Brunson. Read at your peril. If you steal this book, my dad will beat you up.
We continue on and find another campfire.
Year 3 of trials, day 20. We're doing really badly at the trials. Bygarth broke his lyre for the 5th time. Hild got lost in the maze again, and Rain and Signy were both sick all over Manny. When are we going to finish these trials and become adults? My father keeps telling me to improve, saying that I should try harder to become a proper Fremennik adult. Year 4 of trials, day 144. The trials aren't going well. I broke my arm while fighting a cow, and Bygarth almost fell into the furnace. Luckily, my father saved him and Signy from spilling molten iron all over the adults. Askeladdin's already become an adult and keeps making fun of us. He really annoys me.
And another.
Year 5 of trials, day 78. It's not fair. Father said that me and my friends may never pass our trials. They don't want us helping other people with their trials either. And now he says we have to leave Relica. How can they exile us?
And another.
Year 5 of trials, day 89. Signy said she heard about 2 island kingdoms that had been at war for hundreds of years. If we go there and make peace, will my father finally agree that we're true Fremennik adults? Year 5 of trials, day 93. Life's not fair. We got to the island kingdoms and they said that an adventurer had recently made peace by promising to marry the daughter of the king. Why does this always happen to us? If we'd just been here a little earlier, I could have married the king's daughter. Year 5 of trials, day 95. Bygarth says that just because they're at peace now doesn't mean they always will be. He says he has a plan. Year 5 of trials, day 95. Bygarth's plan is great. Now all we have to do is find the right armor and a place in one of the caves. Father's gonna be so impressed with me.
And one final campfire.
Year 5 of trials, day 98. The plans worked. The kingdoms are at war again and no one knows we were those soldiers. All we need to do is make peace, and the council at home will be so impressed. They'll make us adults right away. Year 5 of trials, day 99. Why did it go so wrong? We were just about to get the goods back, but there are monsters in there. I'm not going anywhere near that giant snake, and I think the others agree with me. We're cold and hungry and can't go back to town because we got drunk in the inn and then couldn't pay. It's so bad we've had to burn bits of my diary to keep warm. Someone please help us.
We find the group of teenagers around another campfire. They admit to stealing from the citizens, and they took the things they stole down here, but a giant sea snake has taken control of the room they've stored it in. We run deeper into the cave past some small sea snakes, and find the giant one along with the missing items. We kill the sea snake and go to leave. An Etsetarian guard lets down a rope into the cave for us. We climb up and speak with Queen Sigrid. We tell her what happened and give her the stolen items. She says that Etsetaria pledges to add a portion of what they produce to us along with the miscellaneous treasury. She also gives us a letter to deliver to Vargas, an apology. We deliver it to Vargas. Part of the letter says that if he weren't a Yeti, she might want to get to know him better. Apparently the prince and princess were onto something. Quest complete. 56 Slayer. With the completion of this quest, we've unlocked some things incredible. Not something incredible, mind you. Some things. Do not miss the next half episode. Subscribe so you get notified. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I'll see you in the next one.